Hi everyone, this is Tech Ken here, coming to you live from somewhere in the world. Anyway, let's get started. I wanted to show you how we're going to use Google Classroom and Google Drive and all Google products this year. As you know, last year our biggest problem with our Google Drive was that we could not send emails to students, parents, or teachers. Well, I mean, we could send them, but we could not receive. No one could receive emails from anyone under our 305online.org account. So that also includes emailing like meeting invitations for Zoom or Google Meets or whatever. So no one was able to receive things like that through email. So we have to migrate to something else. So what we're doing is we're moving to the schools, the DOE new Google system. All right, so let me show you how you're going to do that. First, what you do is you go to something called, the main place is Teach Hub. So you can search for Teach Hub. I'll put it here, click that, and then at the top here it says Teach Hub. Now, what comes up is this sign in. So you want to sign in with your DOE mail system account and password. So it's the same thing you sign in for the DOE's mail. So there you go. I press sign in.
It takes you to the home page.
So I put these favorites in here, but you have no favorites yet. So what you have to press is K to 12, which stands for kindergarten to 12th grade for those of you that weren't sure. And so here's all the stuff that the DOE has approved and is running through the DOE's new system. They have Google Classroom, Google Drive, Google Hangouts, Google Meet, Google Translate, Microsoft Calendar, Microsoft 365, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and then some other stuff too. At the bottom, you'll see elementary school drive, high school drive, middle school drive. I have no idea what those things are. I don't think we should use those because when I click it, it shows like, oh, well, who's on this drive? And it's suddenly like, oh, a bunch of other people that I don't know, like, or at least two other people. So I would not do that. See, it's like, who's in this? Jalberg? I don't know. This just seems like a lot. So let's not mess with that. What we are going to use is use this. This is for your own personal Google Classroom, your own personal Google Drive, your own personal of all of these things. All right. If you want to put them in favorites so you don't have to come back to this giant list, you just click a heart. Yay. And now it will show up in your favorites. What, like on your home screen. See, these are the ones that I hearted. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. This is your new Google Classroom. You click it, and then you start building Google Classrooms just like we did before. Now, the thing is, if yours doesn't work, if you're like, oh, if it says something like access denied or whatever, at the bottom down here, you see we have thousands of emails each by this point. You have to use your at schools.nyc.gov account. If any time it says you need to request access, that's because you're not signed in at schools.nyc.gov. If you don't have it on this list, you click use another account and then you type it in here, the whole thing, like kspector3 at schools.nyc.gov, and use your same password as your mail. That's how that will work. Now, people are saying, what about all of my old stuff from last year and from forever? Here's what's going on with that. The DOE has a service called Migration Services, which I've been emailing them back and forth, is the way for all your old stuff to show up on your new Google Drive and your new Google Classroom. The only thing that won't transfer to Google Classroom are the students' grades from last year because they say that that's like private student data and we're not allowed to look at grades or transfer grades or whatever, right? I don't know if you ever heard that the DOE has mistakes a bunch of times with things that they do. Well, according to several emails that they've sent everyone that's been trying to do this, they said, we have built the largest migration system in the world for this. No one else has done it bigger than us. And so suddenly, after doing a bunch of schools, they found out there was a bunch of glitches in it and a bunch of stuff didn't work. So they paused their whole migration system, and right now it's still on pause while they figure out what to do. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with, well, till the DOE figures out their stuff, none of our old stuff is coming to our new Google Drive and new Google Classroom. So how nice is that?
So I shot them an email saying, is it pretty much the same thing for every teacher to share their entire old Google Drive with their DOE Google Drive and then save it as the owner? Is that pretty much what the DOE migration would do? Meaning, can we just share it with ourselves and skip you, DOE? And their response was, it's not the exact same thing as our migration moves the original file and maintains permissions, whereas a copy or shared file remains within your independent school domain. I would suggest sharing the files so that you may adopt and later in the school year, when so inclined, migrate the information so that it may populate in your DOE Google Drive. So what that means basically is that if we were to share it to ourselves and then claim ourselves as owners of it, whoever you shared it with in the past, like other teachers or on your old Google Classroom stuff, the links for it and everything, those would be erased. Like your new file of it would not have any of those sharing permissions or editing and view permissions for certain people or whatever. You would have to set that all up again. So what they're saying to do is just share it with yourself, basically keep it in shared with me, and then when the DOE does their thing for us, their migration for us, whatever you built last school year and built this school year will smush into one instead of being two totally separate files.
Here is what you need to do. This is your new Google, and let's also go to our old Google Drive, the 305online.org. Is this it? Yeah. So, however you get to your 305online.org account, like this, verify it's you. I bet it is. Do I even know this in my head anymore? Ta-da! All right. People are texting me. Okay. So what you do here is, oh, Smurf knowledge. Let's transfer some Smurf knowledge in my 305 account over to my new one in TeachHub. See, it's got this official DOE stamp on it. So official. K-Spectre 3. All right. So what I'm going to do is I can just take the whole folder if I want. I can share it by pressing this person plus add person. And I'm going to type in what I type in to get into my mail for the school. K-Spectre 305 nycschools.gov. Okay. You can notify yourself if you want. Editor, let's see. Editor, yes, please. Okay, send. Share anyway. Goodbye. And then hopefully over here in my new one that has the school stamp on it, I'll go to shared with me. You've got mail. And here is Smurf knowledge. Okay, so what I just found out was that after I shared it, nothing showed up. It took it maybe like 10 minutes or so for anything to show up. So if you're like, I shared it and nothing happened, you got to give it like 10, 15 minutes apparently, currently. And now your stuff is here. Like, are Smurfs good or bad for the economy? There we go. I mean, everyone wants to know that. Okay, so now we've put our stuff in here into our new schools.nyc.gov account. And back on TeachHub, if you go into Google Classroom, when you make a class, it's going to be pulling things from whatever you put into your NYC account. So everything is now NYC.
And every student is going to be using their own account from the DOE. So everything should be in the same organization. We're all under the DOE. Embrace the DOE. So that's the video for now. Have a great time. Text me if you have any questions.